Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa, and I'm here today to talk to you about courage. But I'm not just going to talk, I'm going to sing. Yeah. I wrote a song for you, and you guys are going to sing along with me. These are the lyrics, so we're going to join in on the chorus. And it goes like this. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Easy, right? Okay, we're gonna practice. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Perfect, you guys are gonna do great. Let me There's a lot of things you haven't done because you are afraid. What if it's hard? What if it hurts? What if everyone laughs at this thing I've made? It's frightening to risk it all. Sorry. Very frightening. Okay. It's frightening to risk it all. How will you get up when you fall? So if you are trapped or feeling held back, but inside you hear a call. Here we go. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say, every day. What if, 2 simple words that carry a lot of weight. They can mean big dreams and inventive things, the drive to imagine and create, but they can also carry fear. Oh, damn it. Okay. But they can also carry fear and dread when they rattle around inside your head. What if you took all your doubt and threw it all out and took a leap instead? Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. You might fail, you might succeed. When we dream, the outcome's never guaranteed. The only thing that's for sure is we're all gonna die. The rest is up to you, so you might as well try. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. One more time, have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say, every day. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that was the most terrifying thing I could have chosen to do. I think it's painfully obvious I'm not a professional performer of music. My singing is usually in the form of karaoke, and my songwriting is in the form of bedtime lullabies for my kids. I wanted to throw up the whole time. In fact, since I thought of this idea, any time that the thought of doing that entered my brain, I wanted to puke. But at the same time, I knew that this is what courage is truly about. It's not being unafraid, but it is instead choosing to act in the face of fear. When Rebecca asked me to speak at Creative Mornings, first I thought, really, me? But I saw the list of possible topics, and I actually glossed over the word courage to me, talks about courage are better left to heroes, to people that are speaking out against inequality and fighting for what's right, for people that risk their lives to protect others, for people that are bold and daring and do things no one else in the world does. But then I realized that there's a different kind of courage, one that Rebecca saw in me, and one that's within us all. It's an everyday courage that helps us partake in intimate relationships, pursue our passions, be creative, and sometimes just makes us brave enough to be ourselves. I know that there's something within each and every one of you that you're not doing because some fear is holding you back. And I also know that you have the very best, most well thought out reasons for not doing that thing. We're really good at coming up with those. I know I am. But I want to challenge you today to take a bold leap in your life. It's terrifying and awkward and gut-wrenching, but you absolutely can do it, and it will change your life and maybe even the world. So I want to talk about me a little bit. That's me as a kid. I found this picture the other day, and I was going to make some punny joke about being chicken, but there you go. Use your imagination. So ever since I was old enough to hold crayon and a pair of scissors, I've been doing creative things. Making my own toys, sewing with my mom, woodworking with my dad, devouring craft books, and just pretty much anything creative, I was into it. In fact, as a kid, I wanted to make everything, and I kind of still feel that way. So fast forward to 2008, my husband and I started our wedding photography business, and we worked on it every spare minute we weren't working our full-time day jobs at Apple. Eventually, we built it up to a point where we quit our secure jobs and steady paycheck and have been supporting ourselves ever since. We were working insanely hard on this business, putting everything we had into it, long hours, investing all our brain power and creative energy. I got pregnant with our son in 2013, and he was born 3.5 weeks early in our home a week before Christmas that year. Don't worry, it was planned. The home birth part, not the 3.5 weeks early. That was just a fun surprise. So it wasn't long after he was born that I started to sort of check out from my photography business. I didn't want to work on it as hard anymore. I was really anxious about upcoming shoots. I was really overwhelmed with a new child, a home, a business, a marriage, and on top of that, I always really struggled with asking for help. I still do. So needless to say, I was feeling very drained. And it was really very hard to talk about this at that time because I felt like if I talked about it, it would affect my business if my clients knew. So I kind of kept that bottled up a little bit. In 2015, I attended a photography conference/retreat called Photo Field Trip. And it was there that I had an emotional breakdown and realized my life was missing art. It had been a very long time since I was creating just for me. And this realization was great, but change did not come very quickly. I kind of started to do projects here and there, kind of like fitting in creativity where I could, but I was still feeling very unfulfilled, like I should be doing more. So in 2016, I started a project where I challenged myself to draw or paint something every day. And my goal there was to just increase my skills and kind of define my personal style. But little did I know I would get so much more out of it than that. I became pregnant with my daughter a few months into that year, and this was a very emotional pregnancy at a very stressful time in my life. I was depressed a lot. I just had no drive, no motivation. Everything felt like a heavy weight on me that seemed impossible to pull myself out from under. So going back to my drawing project, days went by where I didn't draw anything because I felt, not in the right mood. But eventually I did start drawing again, and sometimes my art looked like this, or this, or this, or this, and even this. Sorry. Sorry, I lost my place. This was really, or what I didn't, oh no, sorry, okay, I got it. I'm good, okay. The events of the presidential election weighed very heavily on me. Here I am doodling as the results of the election were coming in, and a few days later, all I could draw was this. What I didn't know is that I had given myself something very powerful, and that was the gift of self-expression. I always had a lot of difficulty opening up to people and connecting, and this was a start in that direction. So I didn't continue with this project in 2017. Instead, I was focusing on the end of my pregnancy. But I did decide I would do it again, this time starting with the day she was born. That's what I do that day. Any mom out there can tell you that those first weeks after you have a baby are just wrought with emotion. So this is some of the art I made during that time. It was through writing and art that I was able to fully grasp all the emotions that I was going through and also capture that time in my life. All in all, it was a really awesome time after she was born, very happy. But of course, life has a way of balancing things out. At 9 weeks postpartum, I ended up in the hospital to have an emergency surgery to get my appendix out, followed by 6 weeks of recovery where I couldn't nurse my baby or even hold her comfortably. So all of this brought my depression, not to mention problems in my marriage, to a head. I was feeling withdrawn from my friends and family. I didn't want to do the things I loved. I didn't feel worthy of help or happiness, and I was hurting. And the hurt on the inside, the hurt I felt on the inside made me want to hurt on the outside, which led to some very dark thoughts. So even though I didn't want to, I thought doing so admitted how broken I really was, plus mental health stigma. I started seeing a therapist last June. And this was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. So right away when I started therapy, I gave myself rules and structure because that's just what I do. So no music on the drive over. I took a selfie after every session. I'm not sure why, but maybe to capture my mood. And then I gave myself the entire next hour. I just looked at you. I gave myself the entire next hour to write and process and reflect and draw. And if there's one thing that I can attribute to how far I've come, it's that time. I'd never given myself time like that before just to feel and explore that. So this is some of the art I made during that time, just as I'm processing everything. And I've never shared this with anybody. I mean, talk about art for me. Like, this is literally just for me. So let's go back to that thing I did at the beginning that terrified me. Did anybody notice anything happening up there? So I spent years shrinking down and regretting my actions because of that voice. It was only maybe a few months ago that I identified that voice, and I now unlovingly refer to it as the bad voice or the voice that calls me stupid. Once I gave it a name, I sat down and let it speak. And what came out was very raw, and I'm going to read you a portion of what I wrote that day. Why do you need to be the best you can be? How will that help anyone? So you become your best possible self, and your marriage improves, and you're able to raise healthy, happy kids, and so what? No one cares about your life. You're an insignificant little blip on the radar of time. You won't change the world. It will keep being the horrible, fucked up place it is. Even if you can do something to improve the lives of some of the people around you, you're just lifting up your little privilege bubble. Great. And all the people suffering don't give two shits about your bubble and the fact that somewhere in your safe little city, some crap you drew is hanging on their wall, which gives them a little smile as they go about their safe, monotonous day. Fan-freaking-tastic. While over here in this part of the world, there's a mother who had to watch her babies die. Hunger, war, fire, hurricanes, white guys with guns, and you think you can change the world with a smile? It's hopeless. You hate the world, and your kids will hate the world just like everyone else. Tragedy surrounds you and everyone else, and it always will. Just keep the status quo. What will be, will be. Don't rock the boat. Challenge nothing. This voice is what holds us back. It stops us from living our best lives. It may seem well-intentioned. It just wants everything to be comfortable. It doesn't want to see you get hurt. But when we follow its direction, we never get to feel the deepest joys and the proudest moments, all because of the pain or struggle that might come along with it. And as hard as it is, we need to let this voice be free. Stop suppressing, let the words flow. All parts of you need to have a voice, even the negative ones. And the reason why? How else can you challenge them? If you do not expose yourself, or if you do not expose yourself to that which you disagree, how will you know what you truly believe? And then, your fears and your doubts and the world will scream and shout at you, but courage is that soft, gentle voice that tells you you can do this. It's a timid first step and a long, deep breath. So let's talk about how we can be courageous. In order to be courageous, we need to accept something called vulnerability. Some words that are synonymous with vulnerable: naked, exposed, unguarded, susceptible to attack. Sounds fun, right? To be vulnerable is to risk. To be vulnerable is to recognize that there is no guarantee of the outcome, but to put yourself out there anyways. It wasn't until I started being vulnerable, which was really a whole new thing for me, I'd never even known it was a thing, that I started to make changes in my life. Before, I held tight to my perfectionism, and I kept my walls up high and strong. Now, I'm really conscious to welcome the whole gamut of emotions, even the negative ones. They all have lessons to teach me. There's that picture for that. So another way to be vulnerable is to share our process. It's really hard to openly talk about our messy middles. It's just kind of that part in the story where you're somewhere between here and the next thing. You don't really have an idea about how everything is going to pan out. But when we start sharing our disappointments and pitfalls and unfinished ideas, people are no longer just a spectator to your story, they become a part of your story. You never know who might identify with your stage in the process and become a catalyst. Another way to be courageous is to remind ourselves of our own strengths. Oh no. Oh, there you go. So that's Bear, my son. He's 4. For Christmas, we got him a pedal bike, and he did really good with it on the first few goes, but over the next couple months, he got so scared of it that he wouldn't even sit on it anymore. So I sat him down in the driveway, and I reminded him of what I know he was capable of doing. I gave him a mantra. And we went up and down the streets of our neighborhood, shouting it at the top of our lungs. And I'm not gonna lie, it felt really weird for me, but it was very powerful for him. And now he has this amazing tool that he can and actually does use whenever he needs a little courage boost. And not just him, like me and my husband use it too. In fact, on the drive over, he was saying that to me in the car to, give me a boost. Thanks, babe. So give yourself a mantra. Sell yourself on the idea that you can do it. Remind yourself that you and the universe are already equipped to handle whatever challenges come your way. So over the past 9 months, I have questioned everything about myself. I'm learning to be more courageous within my friendships, my family, as a parent and as a spouse, but most of all with myself. And I've taken a big step towards following my biggest passion, which is creating a career out of my art. This year, I started a new project where I'm no longer just fitting in creativity where I can, but dedicating real working hours towards making art. And I'm also selling my creations, which is just like a whole new ballgame for me. It's really exhilarating, and I feel better than I have in a long time. I still feel all those fears from before, but now I'm taking little actions to challenge each of them. And the more I practice courage, the more I realize how unfounded those fears were. In fact, I'm finding that the opposite of my fears is true. I didn't want people to see the real me. I thought they would reject me, but instead I've been embraced. I was afraid that if I spent time doing the things that I loved, I would be wasting my time just being selfish. Instead, more opportunities have come to me than ever before. I can feel that wheels are turning and a ball is rolling, and I don't know where it's headed or where I'm going, but I trust the path that I'm on. And do I have it all figured out now? Do I know what my next business is going to be or what I'm going to do with my life? No, absolutely not. But I've learned to embrace the journey. I am accomplishing whatever little bits and pieces of my big goal that I can, even if I don't know what that big goal is. And just as I didn't know all those years ago what path I had started to take, sometimes things don't become clear until we're moving forward for a long time. You are all creative people. You are already overcoming some amount of fear just to work in a creative field. Creativity takes courage. You are bringing forth into the world something that didn't exist before, something that's a part of you. It comes from your thoughts, your experiences, your emotions, and you are choosing to bear that for the world to see, and that's really brave. So, in about 5 minutes from now, or maybe 10 with the raffle, I want you to go into the room and talk to somebody that you don't know. And then I want you to go out in the world, take your big idea, break it down into little pieces, and act on it. Take a risk and be vulnerable. Lean into that vulnerability by sharing your process, your struggles, along with your triumphs. The fears will always be there, but you know that courage is not about making them go away. It's recognizing your fear and boldly moving forward. Can you guys sing with me one more time? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say. Have courage, be brave in what you do, in what you say, every day. Thank you.